incredible panel. And to felicitate this panel, got an absolute legend. We will get Joydeep Da on stage to felicitate the panelists after the panel. So let's start sharp 2:30. Like I said, we're all there. We're all there. In a minute, I'll start calling my panelists up on stage. Microphone gulo diye din. Shop gulo ja check kora check kore nin. Microphone gulo diye din. Because shomoye shuru korbo. Rajada, I want the book ready. 8 copies for the stage. The final 3 panels before we get into the last grand finale. We have a empowerment walk for International Women's Day, and we will have a final panel at 4:15 with all our achievers, men and women on stage, celebrating the end of Trailblazers Conclave 2.0. So now 3 back-to-back panels, and then we get into a break, come back with the empowerment walk, and then the celebration. Okay, let's get our panelists on stage. This is a panel which is titled Giving Back to Sport, the Odisha Story. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Secretary Sports, Government of Odisha, and someone who's made a difference, Secretary to the CM, co-author of the book, The Odisha Story with myself. Put your hands together for Mr. Vinil Krishna. And of course, legends to be on stage with Mr. Krishna and myself. Put your hands together for Mahesh Bhupati, Adil Sumariwala, Rani, Professor Vijay Pereira, Shriyanka Sadangi, and of course, Anusha Agarwala. Please, can we have you all on stage? We will start sharp 3:30. My mistake, 2:30. Prantikar একটা চেয়ার লাগবে, আরেকটা চেয়ার দিন। 2 ends, 2 moderators. Yeah, ওইখান দাও। প্রান্তিক, শোনো না, তুমি বসো, এখানে তুমি বসো। there. Done. Thank you. So there you go, once again, 2:30. Sport is all about timing. Mr. Krishna, first to you. What prompted the Odisha story? 2017 to when I go now, I have been a regular to Odisha. So has all of us have seen your story. I know Adil and you have been part of this from day one. What prompted this? Why did you decide to invest in sport in the manner you did, treat sport as soft power, and now when I see that Kalinga Stadium precinct, I don't think there is anything like that in any part of the world. How did you guys make this happen?
Thank you. I think it's all the vision of our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Naveen Patnaik. He decided that we have to do something about Indian sport and the youth, of course. So whenever the Olympics or Asian or whatever international level tournaments happen, it's always has been a not so happy situation for India, and every time, especially at the Olympics, more or less it's a disappointment for most of the Indians. So it has all started from that we have to do something for the sport in general, for the Odisha and also for the country. And he was having this thing also that he has to do something for hockey especially, because hockey is something that even though it is never officially notified, we all believe it's our national game, and it's very emotionally attached to our right from the India's struggle for freedom. When India was not even a country, that is when hockey has given that identity to the country at the global level. And that is also the, in fact, our Honorable Chief Minister used to play hockey at his school level, so he had that affinity towards hockey. And when he saw that a sport which has brought so much glory for India at the global level, and the record, the gold medals at the Olympics, so he was very much this thing that we should do something for the hockey. So it has started with, in a way, with the sport of hockey, somewhere around 8-9 years back. Then we also conducted the Asian Athletics Championship, thanks to Mr. Sumariwala, who has brought it to Odisha. It was a very difficult situation in which the athletics tournament was organized. We hardly had 90 days to organize the tournament. At that time, we were not so much into sports. Our sports budget was also very low. The Kalinga Stadium that you see now, 2017 is like 7 years back, 6-7 years back. You wouldn't recognize what it was at that time. So the track was in very bad shape. There was no practice track. The galleries were in very bad shape. He was witness to all that. So when he first saw the stadium, he said that, how are we going to conduct it? It's just 3 months away. But our Chief Minister said that we will definitely do it. Our team will rise up to the occasion. It was a matter of the nation's prestige. The Asian Athletic Championship was to be organized in another city. Somehow in the last minute they had backed out, and AFI was looking for partner states which can host. In spite of lack of infrastructure, lack of experience in hosting a international tournament, we did it in 2017 in a very short period of 90 days, and inclusive of the infrastructure development, the organizing. It's quite complicated also, because the athletics is like lot of events are there, so many countries are participating, so many, almost like I think 1,200, 1,300 athletes had come for the event. Bhubaneswar as such is not like a big metro, so there are problems in accommodation. Multiple challenges were there. But then we did it, and the Asian Federation President, the World Athletics, Mr. Sepko was also there. So they all praised the way the event was hosted. The athletes were also very happy. So that's when we realized that when we are hosting it, you'll not believe that the athletics normally doesn't attract too many audiences, but the stadium was full right from morning to evening. The entire Kalinga Stadium was full with audience. That's when we realized that there's a lot of enthusiasm towards sports as well among the people. So there's a demand, kind of a pull. So all these multiple factors put together, the government decided that we should do something for sport and something for the youth as well. Okay. So it's not only that we are creating a state level infrastructure or international level tournaments, we are actually investing across the state in a large manner, large scale, across the urban areas, rural areas. All this is meant towards creating that impact on the youth, and also towards creating a healthy, fitness-oriented society.
Did you believe they could do it, Adil? I mean, we'll take comments from everyone, because Shriyanka has seen the growth, Mahesh what it means, but before that, you were there. Did you believe these guys could do it?
So let me tell you, when I first went there, there was nothing. There were no stands, there were no chairs, there was hardly any roof. But, you know, the first meeting we went, we had a gentleman who was the secretary, PWD, one Mr. Pradhan. And I went and I said, I need this and we need to do this. And he kept saying, yes, will be done. Yes, will be done. And see, what is he saying? I mean, how can you do it? That time Vinil sir was the director of sports, I think. And Mr. Vishal Dev was the secretary. Even the chief secretary was not in favor. We went to the meeting with the CM, I think with the CM and the CM's office and KP sir and all said we will do it. There were no lights. We had to get those lights made in Pune, import the lamps from Italy. There was no track and we had no material for the track. So actually the material was at Gujarat University. So I called up the Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, got that diverted here. There was no warm-up track at all. There was a Maidan. So we got a warm-up track made there. So it was just, there was no grass. So we got grass and we stuck the grass, the actual grass, not artificial grass. But it is unbelievable. And I went there after 15 days. And I said, the amount of change that happened in just first 15 days. When we got the lamppost, the guy with the crane ran away. There was no, he was not there. The lights had to go up.
So when this happens, Rani, I mean, you've seen, he's talking about the hockey story. How important is the Odisha support for hockey for someone like you?
बिल्कुल आई थिंक अगर मैं लास्ट 20 साल की बात करूं अपने करियर की सो मुझे नहीं लगता कि मैंने शायद कभी सोचा था कि इंडिया भी कभी स्पेशली वीमेंस हॉकी के कुछ इवेंट्स होस्ट करेगा और ये तो बिल्कुल नहीं सोचा था कि कभी हमें वर्ल्ड के बिगेस्ट स्टेडियम जो होगा वो इंडिया में ही होगा जहाँ पे वुमेंस हॉकी को भी खेलने का चांस मिलेगा एंड ऑल थैंक्स टू चीफ मिनिस्टर नवीन पटनायक सर कि उनका ये विज़न था कि हॉकी को हम और उड़ीसा को कैसे वर्ल्ड मैप पे लेके आ सकते हैं एंड नाउ यू कैन इमेजिन कि अंडर 17 के बच्चे लड़कियां जो सब जूनियर का कैंप लगा था राउरकेला में लगा था उनका कैंप जहाँ पे जो वर्ल्ड का बिगेस्ट स्टेडियम है एंड व्हेन आई टोल्ड देम गर्ल्स डू यू नो कि आप वर्ल्ड के सबसे बड़े स्टेडियम में ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हो एट द एज ऑफ 17 एंड देवर शॉक्ड कि सच में ये सबसे बड़ा स्टेडियम है क्या बिकॉज बच्चों के लिए तो दे डोंट नो कि उनको लगा कि भी शायद वर्ल्ड में इससे भी बड़े स्टेडियम होते होंगे बट देन दे वेंट टू हॉलैंड टू प्ले टेस्ट मैचेस और वहाँ पे जाकर उन्होंने देखा कि सिर्फ ग्राउंड मिला खेलने के लिए खेल के मैचेस वापस आ गए सो देन आई टोल्ड देम नाउ यू सी कि हमारे पास कितने बड़े बड़े स्टेडियम और वो भी उड़ीसा जैसी स्टेट में सो आई थिंक उड़ीसा का सपोर्ट हॉकी के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा रहा है उससे पहले आई डोंट थिंक और इक्वली जो है मैन वीमेन दोनों को इक्वली सपोर्ट जो है उड़ीसा से सीएम सर ने किया है सो वो एक बहुत बड़ी चीज़ रही है उड़ीसा से आई थिंक
Mahesh, how important is state support like this? When you guys were, obviously there was no sort of support like this. How important is the vision of a CM, the sport investing? These guys now have a budget in Odisha, 1,500 crores. Our national sports budget is 3,000 crores. One state has a budget of close to 1,300 crores. Huge.
Out of 3,900 crores, the rest.
Yeah, so the other that youth, they have a budget of 15. How important is this?
Well, I think it's critical. If at some point we want to make our nation a sporting nation, I think it's they're leading by example. Hopefully, a lot of states will follow suit. And 15 years ago, I've played multiple Olympics. I would have never dreamt that there was even going to be a discussion of India hosting the Olympics. So, we want to become a sporting nation. I think we are a country that very proud of their achievers. And I think we're very proud that they're leading by example.
Would you, in your capacity as one of India's greatest, would you want to sort of be part of such a story in terms of if there is a possibility of working together?
Yeah, I mean, see, when I played my third Olympics and I came back, it was the same story. First Olympics, I think, Leander won bronze. We came back and there was so much bad negative press about India being such a big nation and one medal. I think the next time Rathore won and Maleshwari won, again there was bad press. The third time, nobody was doing anything about it. So then, we created the Mittals Champions Trust where Abhinav came out of. Then JSW was created, with a blueprint and Neeraj has come out of that. So I think the more minds who have achieved at the highest level, if you can get them involved in a story like this, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and that's where federations also come in. I mean, Adil collaborating with the Odisha government, for example, and that's when government, state, national funding, we can see now from the Prime Minister down, there's serious initiative going on. Shriyanka, when you see this, your own state, before I go to Anush, Prantik and Vijay, to intellectualize the whole story, how proud are you? I mean, that you're from a state which is now sort of heralding a revolution of sport in India.
Hello. Yeah. So I feel extremely proud and thrilled to be from Odisha. A few years back, like when I started shooting initially, we were doing well in hockey. Specifically, like we had a lot of players from Odisha who would do very well in hockey. But the infrastructure and everything was not there. But over the past few years, when I tell people that I am from Odisha, they just look and they're like, wow, you're so lucky. And personally, I've seen so much of development, so much of growth. On the outside, we see the infrastructure being made, the high performance centers being built.
Yeah.
But on an inside, like on the inside as an athlete, I'll also tell you what all I have experienced, which people in other states have to deal with a lot of problems. So the kind of support that we are receiving from the government, thanks to our Honorable CM, thanks to Vinil sir, it's all transparent, it's all clear. The cash awards, whatever you're entitled to, if you need any financial assistance, you send them the application, you give them the format. You don't even have to keep calling constantly, sir hua, sir kab hoga, sir important hai. Kuch nahi. It's all transparent, it's all clear, there's no foul play. And you know, other states you hear sometimes people say, bahut bhagna padta hai piche, nahi milta hai, which is a very common problem across India. But then I feel so proud because I tell them that it's so smooth here, the system is in place. And a few years back, I would not have dreamt that Odisha would be the sporting capital of the country. And the rate at which we are going, Odisha is going to be one of the sporting capitals of the world. So I feel extremely proud to be associated.
Anush, how important could this be? I mean, in India, you have had to go and train in Germany. I mean, you told us that story that sadly we still don't have the necessary infrastructure for your sport. But when a state is leading like this, sooner than later this will happen. How we will have the next Anush, because not everyone can go and get the facilities that you did.
Yes, to be honest, unfortunately, currently India is not a country which has a rich history, let's say, in the equestrian sport. And not many people are aware about it. And I think since the Asian Games, since the 2 medals at the Asian Games and now this quota for the Paris Olympics, I think that will give a huge push to the younger generation. I think, you know, in India, there's enough talent to excel in every field. It does not, in any sport, it does not matter, hockey, cricket, equestrian, I'm 100% sure about that. And I think with these achievements, it has given a push to the younger generation that, you know, they can see that, okay, this guy is 24 years old and he's actually gone there and done that. So it's not unattainable, it's not too far, it's actually possible. So I think there will be, already in the past 5 years, I would say there's been huge developments in the sport. And in the coming years, I'm pretty sure that India will become a major nation in this sport. And for sure, we need the required infrastructure, and it's developing across the country. Of course, it's not yet at the level which we find in Europe, unfortunately. But again, Rome was not built in a day. It's a process. And I'm quite happy that the process has started, and it's only a matter of time until it gets to that level.
Well said, Anush. Before I go to Prantik, Vijay, as a professor of sport who's traveled the world, taught sport and business around the world and corporate governance, how important is this work that a government is doing of a state? Sport is still a state subject in India, by the way. How important is this? Help us understand.
Yeah, so for years we said it was the corporate social responsibility. For years we said there needs to be a bridge, and who would be that bridge? For years we said it was the state's responsibility, but in an emerging country there are other greater responsibilities. But the Odisha story is the story, isn't it? I mean, many congratulations, Boria and Vinil, on the book, but I think now is the time from the learnings and also the knowledge that needs to be transferred. So I am in Indore in January doing a 10-day course to the MBAs who would go across the world in Microsoft or Amazon, wherever. And I had to tell them, Adil, what 1,300 crore means for a government of Odisha to spend vis-a-vis the government of India in the center. You know, so this needs to be translated and also spread. So the Odisha story, we need to celebrate now. I think we are meeting in August, Vinil, in France, between the Olympics and the Paralympics. And there it's going to be again. So I think the learning needs to be now translated to how can other state governments do it, to what extent they can do it, and what are the outcomes from that. Because the nexus, Boria, as we talk, business, sport, state, and the impact it has on society, as Vinil was rightly saying. If we want a healthier nation, that healthier nation can only be built with investment in sport. We'll go on to win medals, but we will also have a healthier society.
Prantik, you live in Singapore where sport is ingrained now. It's part of the healthier culture. But when you come to Odisha now and see that precinct, for example, does this, I mean, and it's a very different question, does it give you hope about India?
Absolutely, Boria. And I'll tell you where, obviously, you know, we work together and I've heard all the great stories about Orissa. I followed on social media, the book. But my moment of pride was, there's a government body in Singapore called Enterprise Singapore that sort of, you know, looks at investments and growing different industries. They usually, when they talk about sport, to your point, they look at the Australian precinct in Melbourne or Europe. But someone from the government actually spoke about the Odisha model. And I can't tell you how proud I was. You know, I can feel as she said, like you obviously feel that pride, obviously experiencing that, but as an NRI living there, when they were speaking about that as a model, and there are three things they spoke about, right? One was the PPP model, because that's something Singapore believes in. You know, you have the Reliance, JSWs, Naval Trust doing that. I think that's a fantastic model to make something scalable. The other part, you know, as a tech entrepreneur, what really excites me is the whole sports science and sports tech element. Young kids with GPS trackers. There's a beauty. It's not that you suddenly give adult athletes those trackers. You've got to sort of, as you said, Professor, you've got to sort of get the young kids accustomed to that. You suddenly can't get an adult athlete to say, hey, kal se ye pehno, right? So I think that's a beautiful shift in culture. And the third is, you know, the whole notion of sort of how it is impacting multi-sport. So I think these three elements of PPP, the precinct and the sports science and tech, I think it's doing wonders for the soft power of India overseas.
You start, each of you have a minute, and I'll close with Vinil for the last 2 minutes before we launch the book. What is the wish list? 1 minute, what you want the state to do? Because obviously the state can't do everything. Our athletes will have, and in an ideal scenario, what you would want the state to do. But as intellectuals, as entrepreneurs, what do we want our state to do? Prantik, you go first.
Sure. 2-3 things, right? I think one is, if you could improve the connectivity from like overseas for people to sort of directly come there. I think, you know, when you sort of, you know, had these World Cups, I mean, fabulous feedback from a lot of my friends who were there. But I think if connectivity, air connectivity could be improved, I think that's one. Air connectivity, hospitality, because I think, you know, when I go to Barcelona, Real Madrid, or even London for the World Test Championship, it's the experience, the hospitality. I think that adds to the fan experience, right? That's one. The other is, I think, would love to find a way to sort of, how do we invite the best sports tech or, you know, health, fitness, wellness startups to collaborate. I think we have the PPP model with the large enterprises, but I genuinely think the time has come to sort of get the best of sports tech startups. Can we have an incubator and accelerator? I would love to put up my hand and see what can we do. Because I think the whole Make in India, and again, it doesn't matter whether it's Make in India or do we sort of get the best startups from overseas. The point is, we've got to do what's right for our athletes. So, infrastructure, hospitality, sports tech, startup accelerator.
Super. Very, very good points.
I would say three things.
Just a little up, yeah.
Three things that I would like would be awareness, availability, and accessibility. Awareness, it's very simple, the 3 A's, I would say. You know, awareness, because unfortunately our sport is not that famous in India currently. You know, people don't really know, they know horse riding, but they don't really know what it's about. So awareness is very important to get people's attention. Availability, because of course it's more difficult. You cannot just ride a horse. You need the proper, you cannot just ride a horse like you can play football anywhere. You know, you need the proper training grounds. So the number of training grounds, the number of trainers, everything has to increase, because it's the whole infrastructure. It's always a circle. It's not that you have to increase the whole process to increase, to develop the sport. And accessibility, you know, unfortunately, horse riding is a sport which requires a certain level of financial assistance, and it would be great if governments or if people who are less fortunate would get this level of financial assistance to get into the sport.
You know what I like about all our speakers from yesterday is the clarity and the intensity of discussion. This is not fluff going on stage. So that's why just listen to them, because there's a lot that's coming out. Shriyanka.
I feel the states can go a long way in incorporating sports as a part of lifestyle. Like what Sir said, very interestingly, that if we make it accessible to people in smallest parts of towns, districts, if we get people to come and watch different games, people will start aspiring to be like those role models. And more importantly, in general, the whole society will get fitter. The youth energy will be used for more positive, productive things, and getting medals will become a byproduct of it. Because we won't just be focusing on, okay, isme medal chahiye, iske liye ye karna hai. But sports will be such an integral part of our education system, of society. You have those fun games in the weekends where everyone plans, like family outings and all will be centered towards sports. So you're doing productive things while doing things which will make you mentally and physically fit. So that would be a long way for like Indian sport results also, and generally for the society as well.
I think एजुकेशन में जो है स्पोर्ट जो है एजुकेशन का पार्ट हर बच्चे के लिए कंपलसरी होना चाहिए कंट्री में, बिकॉज मे बी वो प्रोफेशनली उसको शायद चूज़ ना करें, लेकिन आई डोंट थिंक मैंने कभी आज तक सुना है कि किसी स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन ने स्ट्रेस की वजह से, एंग्जाइटी की वजह से, फेलियर की वजह से कभी सुसाइड कमिट किया होगा. बिकॉज स्पोर्ट्स टॉट अस की नेवर गिव अप जो एटीट्यूड होता है वो कभी आपको हार नहीं मानना चाहिए. बहुत सारे हम कंट्री में बच्चे देखते हैं, मे बी एग्ज़ाम्स में फ़ेल होने की वजह से, एंग्जाइटी डिप्रेशन की वजह से सुसाइड कमिट करते हैं, बिकॉज शायद एजुकेशन वो हमें कभी नहीं सिखाती कि आपको लाइफ में गिव अप नहीं करना चाहिए. सो मुझे लगता है स्पोर्ट्स एक एजुकेशन का कंपल्शन पार्ट होना चाहिए. एंड टू होस्ट मोर एंड मोर जूनियर टूर्नामेंट्स इन द कंट्री, सभी स्टेट्स में, अंडर 17, अंडर 16, अंडर 21, क्योंकि जब वो बच्चे उस प्लेटफॉर्म पे खेलेंगे अपनी कंट्री में, सो इमेजिन वो जिस गांव से आते हैं, जिस शहर से आते हैं, जिस स्टेट से आते हैं, वो कितने बच्चों को इंस्पायर करते हैं कि अगर आप एट द एज ऑफ 16 आप एक कंट्री में एक एज अ होस्ट टूर्नामेंट खेल रहे हो, सो आप अपनी डेफिनेटली अपनी विलेज में जाके कितने बच्चों को इंस्पायर करते हो खेलने के लिए.
फैंटास्टिक. आदिल.
I would go back to the drawing board and start with where does sports sit? It sits in the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution. So there are 3 places where it could sit. It could sit in the union, state, or the concurrent list. While it sits in the state list, which means it's the basic responsibility of the state, there is the move to try and move it to the concurrent list, where the national part is taken care by the concurrent list. Having said that, I repeat what I said yesterday. I believe that the state or the government, whether state or center, should create infrastructure, should create a platform. The platform will give an opportunity to the athletes for training, for competition, facilities, sports science. The sports science in Orissa is probably amongst the best I have seen in a lot of places across the world. It's outstanding, the Abhinav Bindra sports, the new sports science center. The second thing is that you create the systems and the processes, the medals will follow. I am process oriented. I don't look at the end. The end will happen if your process is right. Next, health. By creating this, the amount of money the state will save on health and health infrastructure, that is put into sport. You have a healthier state and spending less money. That same money can be put again back into sport. So you can rotate that money around. And last but not the least, I think again Orissa has got it right, getting into a PPP model where they create the infrastructure, but experts run it. See, today it's okay, Vinil sir is there, KP sir is there, or whatever. Tomorrow somebody else comes who's not really that interested, that keen. The leadership is, the system has to run. The platform has to run, and therefore I am always on process, not on anything else. And therefore, and that's what we've done in AFI. That is one of the secrets of our success, is the process. And the medals will come. Thank you.
So I think I'm a little more old school. I think, we have to play the numbers game. This morning we heard Deepthi say that Go Sports is supporting 200 kids across 19 sports. You add 200 from JSW, 200 from Reliance, 200 from Tatas, and maybe 200 from Tops. That's 1,000 kids our country is supporting across every discipline. That's comical, right? I mean, that's laughable. And then we all expect Olympic medals. We're dreaming. So I think, we have to go down state level, states have to go down to the district level. We have to have a feeder system that culminates at the top. And I think states need to support it with events, world-class events. I think the depth of Indian cricket today is because every young boy or girl dreams about playing in the IPL or the women's IPL, right? That's why you see the depth. So if you have world-class events in our country, then there is something to aspire for. And that's how we build the infrastructure.
Super. Vijay?
Yeah, India is destined to be the third largest growing economy by 2027. We are fifth now. We can't do that and still not be inclusive. And to reach that and to sustain that, we need a healthier society. And sport is one key medium, we all know, through which that can be achieved, a healthier society. And the governments need to probably have a serious thought, learn from Odisha, pick up those learnings, and probably replicate it. They don't need to be replicated again. Each state can find a unique model. So if they're spending X, why can't it be X plus, X into, something that is greater than what is today, and that needs to be again, going forward, a plan to say, what is my next 5-year plan for sport? Each state, how can you improve on it? And the benefits are there to see. And so to be more inclusive. And my second point, Boria, would be, as you already know, the role of academia in all of this. And, it's not only the elite IMs or business schools, but also, as you rightly say, they need to be taught at school level. So what are we doing? To what extent, and I'm going to be a little bit bold as well, Boria, to say that to what extent are we celebrating our sporting heroes at school level?
Still not part of the curriculum.
Still not part of the curriculum yet. So yes, to be healthy, but here are people who are successful for, as Mahesh says, okay, these 1,000 people who can represent the country is still laughable. That should be in hundreds of thousands. And probably that's where we need to educate at different levels, and awareness is very important, and hence the book becomes very timely. Thank you.
Mr. Krishna, when I suggested that we do this book together, because you were telling me these stories and I was seeing in front of my eyes, and behind you I went and did my research. I did my due diligence, and you didn't stop me, you gave me open access, and I said, let's document it. Now, tell me something. You will move on to another job. Somebody will come in. The political class is always, nothing's permanent. But is the sports movement now, you think, in a kind of auto mode, that it will continue the priority on sport?
So I think currently sport has gone into to that level where people are demanding for more investment in sports. So I think in a democracy, when the people rightly demand for some things, the political class or the entire system has to cater to that. So there is this, especially with the younger generation, they are definitely more into the sports culture. Increasingly, we can see that they all want to get into sport. They are doing sport in different manners. So I think, irrespective of the intensity with which it will happen or not happen, that is debatable. But the direction in which we are going, in terms of more investments, not only from the government, you can increasingly see that there is a lot of investment from the corporate sector as well that is coming into sport. And many sports are rightly trying to become more commercially sustainable. That is again something that we have to look at it, because governments will always have this drawback of beyond a point they cannot invest in sports. So it's again a chicken and egg kind of a situation where unless you invest and create that ecosystem, performance will not come. Unless there is performance, then the commercial sustainability also won't come. In terms of, even though we organize, let's say, hockey matches, except in Rourkela, we don't, in Bhubaneswar, we don't get to see the stadium getting filled. So still that attracting the audience towards the stadiums and willingness of audience to the spectators to pay the high price for the tickets and watch. So that kind of a thing is still a long way. So I think we have to move. We are in the right direction. I'm sure these things will continue. But I would also like to tell that what I have realized, I mean, there's so much of experience that has come in, so many sessions have come. But what I have realized is also that sports is very expensive. To create one sports person at the international level, it's very, very expensive. And some of the sports, I mean, I'm sure you'll agree, tennis is very, very expensive sport. If you have to get your ranking correctly done, you have to do so much of tours, participate, spend so much of money. Same with shooting, equestrian also is very costly game. So I feel personally, after looking at all these years of experience in the sports sector, somehow we are more oriented towards the Western kind of a sports, but this is again coming from the vision of our Chief Minister that we as an Indians, we have to kind of promote more of our Indian sports. That's the reason why we are the only state government which owns a Kho-Kho team in the Kho-Kho League. If you look at the game of Kho-Kho, why, just to give a brief about why we got into Kho-Kho. Kho-Kho, what do you need? You don't need any infrastructure. Anywhere in any school ground, you don't even need to have a grass or anything. It can start and people are playing. So infrastructure, you don't require any great infrastructure for that. And that is like a base game. It has everything. It has the physical fitness is required for that game. There is mental alertness is required. There's a lot of other factors which can help the promotion of the health and personal development of the kid if he gets into sports like Kho-Kho. Similarly, you take our other things, whether it's kabaddi, yoga, or whatever we had the Indian games, you actually don't require any great infrastructure or great investment to promote that kind of sport. So ultimately, we have to find a balance where we as a nation, in terms of our health and fitness of our society, we promote a set of sports which are more traditional and more oriented for our conditions rather than promoting more of this sport, which we have to do it because Olympics is all about, if you want to get the medals and all, we have to do it, but then it's very expensive.
So the balance is what he's talking about, and that's what Odisha has been successful in doing. And that's why we call our book A Story of Hope and Glory, because it is of hope and glory. This is going to be a different kind of felicitation. Joydipda, can we have you on stage to formally, with all our guests here, launch the book and we celebrate with the book. The story of, the Odisha story, one of hope and glory. Rajada, can we pass the book to all of us here? And that's the formal, Joydipda, to open the, unveil the thing. Shobai ke ekta kore copy diye din. And we'll do the photo up. Yes. So there, yes. So by the way, Kulbo, let's open this. Nice. So this is a product of multiple years of research. Vinil Krishna and myself, very proud to be presenting. All of you have got copies in your delegate packs. Odisha and Sport, A Story of Hope and Glory. Thank you very much to our panel for formally launching it. And কিছু আর করতে হবে আর কিছু আছে এটা ওকে just take it there are more copies okay done so there are more copies come so there are copies in every bag and now Joydipda to felicitate the panel as we close the panel come ঠিক আছে এটা এখন ফেলিসিট করতে হবে না ঠিক আছে হয়ে গেছে নামিয়ে দাও এখন নিচে দাও because time নেই আমাদের নিচে দাও হ্যাঁ চলে যাও হ্যাঁ নিচে হাতে দিয়ে দাও so let's take a photograph together all of us yeah জয়দীপ দা তোমার ছবিটা তুলতে হবে আরেকবার এসো ছবিটা তুলে নি সবাই চলো last the panel photo yeah that's the picture and we are very very proud of being able to do this book thank you very much everyone thank you এদিকে দিয়ে দাও okay we move on to our next panel thanks we'll catch up as quick yeah we'll move on to our next panel another fantastic panel coming up just hold this Paralympic sport and empowerment something we deeply invest in as Team Rev Sports to be part of this panel, we've got some absolutely amazing people. You talk of Neeraj Chopra, right? You talk of Sumit Until. How many world records has Sumit Until broken in javelin? So you talk of Neeraj Chopra, you talk of Sumit Until. Yogesh Kathunia, someone we are expecting an absolute performance in Paris, a gold medal. We've got Deepti Bopaya, who was on stage, rock star, complete rock star. We've got Sumit Until, Deepti Bopaya, Yogesh Kathunia, and we've got two very special people, Gautam Devlekar, who's promoting golf among young kids, helping them grow and aspire to grow. We've got Sumeli Chatterjee from Coca-Cola, someone who made it happen that Coca-Cola invested in Paralympic sport and did the campaign Palat Day ahead of Paris. So these are special people, ladies and gentlemen, that we celebrate. And to host this panel, my colleagues, can we have you guys on stage? Where are you, Trisha Ghoshal and Shomojit Das Chaudhary? With our panelists. There you are. With our panelists, Yogesh Kathunia, Sumit Until, Deepti Bopaya, Gautam Devlekar, Sumeli Chatterjee, to be hosted by Trisha Ghoshal and Shomojit Das Chaudhary. Esho. Sir, welcome. Sumit bhai, how are you? Absolute rock star. Come. দেখে না চেয়ার ঠিক আছে নাহলে কমিয়ে কাউকে ডাকো
Hello everyone, good afternoon. And we have some brilliant panelists over here. But I'll start with one of my very favorites, Sumit Until. Sumit bhai, we met in Hangzhou, we had a lovely chat over there. But every time you are there on the track, we expect a lot from you. You have won gold in every tournament possible. So Asian Games, World Championship, Paralympics. So every time you're on the track, we expect a lot more. क्योंकि हम जानते हैं कि ये गोल्ड मार देगा पर उससे ज़्यादा भी कुछ होता है सो ये एक्सपेक्टेशन को आप कैसे डील करते हो
सभी को नमस्ते काफ़ी मुश्किल होता है इस एक्सपेक्टेशन से डील करना क्योंकि हर बार अपना ही बेस्ट देना एक अलग वो होता है और जैसे हंगजाऊ में आपने बात की तो हंगजाऊ से पहले मैं एक फंक्शन में गया था तो उससे पहले हम थोड़ा ये सोच रहे थे कि हाँ गोल्ड मेडल लेके आएंगे बट वहाँ पे लोगों ने इतना मोटिवेट किया कि अब की बार कितना वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड तो आई थिंक ये एक्सपेक्टेशन लोगों की कहीं ना कहीं फ़ायदा भी करती है मोटिवेट भी करती है कि हाँ लोगों को पता है कि मैं और बेटर कर सकता हूँ तो कोशिश ये रहती है कि अपना बेस्ट दे फील्ड पे
सो ये प्रेशर क्या आपको और भी अच्छा करने के लिए मोटिवेट करता है
कह सकते हैं कि करता है
My question would be to Deepti. Deepti, throughout the journey of Go Sports had, of course, started on a mission which kind of brought about a change in the market or the way markets saw para sports. But in your journey from 2015 to 2024, what are the market changes you have seen in the sense of availability of funds now for para sports compared to 2015?
Thank you, Trisha, for that question, and good afternoon, everyone. I think a lot of us, like Boria mentioned, we celebrate our able-bodied athletes a lot. But when we started the foundation, right from the start, we've always worked with athletes with disability. And I think when you talk about sport and the pinnacle of sport, you have the Olympics. And 3 weeks after the Olympics, everywhere you have the Paralympics. So it is the pinnacle of sport. It is the pinnacle of human dominance. It is where athletes with disabilities go and show their mark as well. So for us, it was a very obvious choice to support athletes who are trying to get to the best of their potential. So it does not matter, in terms of our ability. So we've been fortunate to find really, really talented athletes over the years. And most of the times, when you talk about disability, it's two kinds. One is you're born with a disability, and second is because of an accident or a medical issue that something happens. And I always say this in every panel that I go to is, all of us seated here are currently able-bodied. We don't know what can happen and what can change, right? So it's very important to consider inclusion from that framework, all our choices that we make. So the Paralympic story, I have a very small story of Rio. I had the opportunity of being at Rio and for the Rio Paralympics, and that's when we had started our Para Champions program. And I remember a lot of conversations that time where people said, why are you supporting para athletes? Why are you creating such a large program? You're getting CSR funds into para sport, and we're so fortunate to our partners who came on board at that point of time. But the contingent size of India was, actually let me tell you, China's contingent size was 350. What do you think India's, do you want to take a guess, Trisha? India's contingent size of 2016 Rio Paralympics? 19. Yeah, we were 19 athletes who actually went. And I remember that China had an entire 2 buildings and we had 1 floor at that point of time in the village. And we still came back with, medals at that point of time. But I think that was a turning point for parasport in India. Athletes were already training, all of them were already training very hard. And today, the amount of partners, donors, corporate India coming and supporting parasport, I think that initial journey that we took along the way at Go Sports to create this program and say, this is the pinnacle of sport. If you're supporting an able-bodied athlete, you have to also look at disability with the same fresh pair of eyes. And I think Sumit, we've been very fortunate to be part of his journey, and just seeing him here and this is something, I think he deserves a big round of applause, to be at your own event and break the world record 3 times in your own event and win the Paralympic gold medal in Tokyo, I think is a serious achievement. So congratulations. And Yogesh as well is incredible. Lots from him as well. Thank you, Trisha.
A small snippet from Hangzhou, as Dipti ma'am currently said about Sumit's breaking the world records. I was interviewing Yogesh after his medal, and he was constantly looking behind from the podium. And when I asked him, "Bhai, kya dekh rahe थे तुम?" And he was like, "Sumit bhai फेंक रहा था, वो कुछ मार देगा आज, फिर से मार देगा कुछ." So that was the moment in Hangzhou. It was fantastic moment. Yogesh bhai, coming to you, I remember you saying that हर बार silver तो आ जाता है, कुछ थोड़ा for a small amount of the gold misses out. So वो क्या एक extra pressure रहता है gold के लिए या क्या? What do you want to say about that?
सबसे पहले तो सभी को नमस्कार और महाशिवरात्रि आज, तो सभी को मेरी तरफ से हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं महाशिवरात्रि की। तो जो प्रेशर है गोल्ड का और चाहे कोई भी मेडल का हो, वो प्रेशर हमेशा पिछले की ट्रेनिंग से स्टार्ट होता है सारी चीज़ें। तो मैं हमेशा से अपने आप को मोटिवेट करता हूँ कि मैं आज ट्रेनिंग करूँ और जितना ज़्यादा हो सके मैं हर चीज़ पे, डाइट पे, फिजियोथेरेपी पे, ट्रेनिंग पे पूरा ध्यान दूँ, लेकिन कहीं ना कुछ मिस्टेक्स काफ़ी टाइम से मेरे को चल रही थी, क्योंकि 2022 सेशन मेरा बहुत ज़बरदस्त गया था। उस टाइम पे मैंने वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड भी क्रिएट किया था, लेकिन 2023 में हुआ क्या, मेरे को सर्वाइकल रेडिकुलोपैथी होगी, तो मैंने उसको इग्नोर करा। मुझे पता नहीं चला कि मैं सोचता था कि दर्द है, कोई नहीं, चले जाएगा। वो धीरे धीरे इतना बढ़ गया था कि वो लेफ़्ट साइड में पूरा आने लग गया था, तो उस वजह से अगर मैं इस हाथ से कुछ पकड़ भी रहा था तो वो अपने आप छूट जा रहा था। तो जैसा आपने बोला था एशियन गेम्स का, तो एशियन गेम मेरे को बहुत मज़ा आता है, सुमित का इवेंट देखते हैं, हमने साथ में भी ट्रेनिंग करी है, और टोक्यो पैरालंपिक्स में भी साथ में रूम भी शेयर करा था। और मैं जब आया था तो सुमित ने बोला यार वो मज़ा नहीं आया, लेकिन चलो कोई नहीं, सिल्वर आया। तो मैंने बोला जो मेरी चीज़ कमी पूरी हुई थी वो तू पूरी करके आना, तो ये गोल्ड लेके आया था, तो वो चीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा शानदार थी और देश के लिए मेडल लेके आया। ऐसे ही प्रेशर को हैंडल करना मैं धीरे धीरे सीख रहा हूँ। उसके बाद मैंने अब रिहैब करा, और उसके बाद मैंने नेशनल में जब मेरा गोल्ड आया था अभी गोवा नेशनल्स में, तो मेरा सीज़न बेस्ट हुआ, तो मुझको वहाँ से कॉन्फिडेंस आया वापस से कि हाँ मैं अब वापस से कुछ कर सकता हूँ। तो अब जो छोटी छोटी चीज़ें जो कमी रह जा रही है उसको पूरा करने के लिए हम पूरी मेहनत कर रहे हैं, अपनी टीम के साथ पूरा वर्क कर रहे हैं, मेरे कोच हैं उनके साथ पूरा मतलब टाइम स्पेंड कर रहे हैं। तो इस बार जो कॉम्पिटिशन्स आगे, वर्ल्ड चैम्पियनशिप है, पेरिस पैरालंपिक्स है, उस पर पूरा ध्यान देंगे कि वो कमी जो पिछले इवेंट्स में रह गई थी, जो हमने इग्नोर कर दी थी, वो इसमें पूरी कर पाएँ, और होपफुली हम अपना बेस्ट देंगे।
Fantastic, and we hope पेरिस में वो आ जाएगा।
Sumeli, of course, I have worked with you in the Palad Day campaign, and it was a fantastic campaign. It kind of broke a lot of barriers, but I want to ask you, has the Palad Day campaign and the results from even Paralympics and Para-Asian Games actually changed the market sentiment towards para-sports?
Okay, firstly, thank you so much for inviting. I think it's a very, very special stage. And thank you, Boryada, for inviting. Thank you, Trisha. See, for us, when we decided to support Olympics, it was like a no-brainer that we will support Paralympics because it comes together. They don't come in parts. Coca-Cola has been supporting Olympics and Paralympics for almost now 100 years globally and also locally. I think it's also possibly the first FMCG brand to support Paralympics in India also. And I'm saying this not just for a brag point, but what I mean to say here, it was a mainstream campaign for us. It was not a sideshow. It was a mainstream campaign. It delivered volumes for us. So it was a campaign that had business linkages, and I think this is very important for any brand and all brands to understand that when we talk about sport, we are not talking about a person or a game or anything like that. We are actually talking about the story of India. Because for each of you, when you win a medal, I think something happens with India, and sports is something that unites India together, and nothing like that unites India. I think it's sports, and any sport, it's not just 1, 2, 3, but whether it's individual sport, whether it's a team sport, that's the first time that India comes together. So your medal is like a huge emotion for all of us. It makes us feel that we have won, and that's the story that the brand wants to tell. So it was an obvious choice for us to be a close partner, and it's not a one-off. We are going to be there this time also during Olympics and Paralympics when it happens. And I really hope that we come back with a lot of medals, but no pressure. That's not the reason why we are there. We are here to celebrate the journey to the success, not just the success. I think that's what it is. Has it gotten the mood or the sentiment towards para-sports? Don't know, can't say genuinely on this. But I do believe that when we saw the media reports, when we saw the press reports, we saw a lot of things being talked about. Is it because we supported? I don't think so. But I think the fact that, the team performed so well. I mean, they performed amazing. It's, again, not the medals, but I think the performance level has been going up, which is amazing. And I think that's also, and rightly as Deepti, you said that it's not how you're born with, it's how, life takes a turn. And at the end of it, all of us are born with some disability, and that's true, whether it's like emotional, physical, whatever, but that's there. I just want to say one little story and possibly a little long answer to a small question. The whole journey of Pallared Day, by the way, with both Olympics and para athletes, and you've been a part of that. It's been a hugely inspirational thing for the team. So it's not just for us a campaign that we spent money on creating a beautiful film, beautiful narrative and media. For all of us, every time we go back to the campaign, there is something that stirs inside. Because it's a huge inspiration to us, because I think throughout our own career, there has been a lot of tana or a lot of stuff that people tell you, and a lot of naysayers will come back and say, hey, you can't do this. And I think Pallared Day is an answer to all of that. So it's a very, very special campaign to all of us, and hopefully it will come back soon.
Fantastic. Gautam sir, coming to you. My question is, how did golf happen to you? So why did you embark on this personal journey of promoting golf, women's golf? So what's your story? We would all want to know.
Like I've been saying to a few people, I'm possibly one of the few people in this room or on the stage who doesn't have a Wikipedia page, right? Thanks Prantik and Boryat for inviting me here. I come from Singapore and I have been playing golf for the last 20 years, right? And in March 2022, I suffered a stroke. And that kind of got me thinking in terms of, is this the way? Like Deepti mentioned, today we are all currently abled. And I'll tell you, half the room in this, half of the people in this room would have been considered disabled in the 13th century, because if this was not invented, everybody is blind, right? So to me, while I was sitting in the hospital is when I thought, what can I do to give back? And the first thing that came to my mind was golf. And then I got to know a few professionals, specifically women from India and Southeast Asia, who don't have enough competitive playing opportunities. They have to go stand in line with the European Tour or the US LPGA, which is already long, right? And that's how women in golf is what I promote, all right? In fact, there is one girl here, Siksha, who's 12 years old, and she's got her eyes set on to 2028 Olympics, right? So in the next 4 years, I need to make sure that she gets there. So she is one of the people that I'm mentoring. I also manage Ridhima Dilavri, who's on the Ladies European Tour. Around a year back, I started working with Enable India. And I met Moses, who's the executive vice president. Born blind, he picked up golf during COVID. And his reason for picking up golf is because he said, that's the only sport I can play with able-bodied people and increase my network. It would astound you to know, while you, for every 15 connections on LinkedIn that you have, the disabled people have one, right? So for them to grow network, he thought this was a great game, and he picked it up, and he now also organizes the Purple Cup, which has been in running for 3 years, and that is for visually impaired golfers. And I would be combining that with the ladies tour that I'm planning and scaling it to Southeast Asia. So there is also a juniors tour that I just conceptualized sitting with Siksha here. Hopefully that will also do things. Just a couple of things. I also run the CSR program for Moving Walls, which is a digital out-of-home media, where we use unutilized inventory on the outdoor screens to give back to the NGOs. So if there is any NGO that would like some free visibility or a deep discounted campaign, you can reach out to me through Boria or Prantik. We'd be happy to help.
So, Sumit, आप गोल्ड तो जीत के हमारा एक्सपेक्टेशन आपने बढ़ा दिया है, और हम एक्सपेक्ट करते रहेंगे, पर हम खुश कभी नहीं होंगे, क्योंकि हम पूछेंगे कि गोल्ड कब मिलेगा, आपको गोल्ड मिलेगा, तो हम पूछेंगे 80 मीटर कब आ रहा है. तो गोल्ड ज़्यादा प्रेशर देता है, 80 मीटर ज़्यादा प्रेशर देता है, या फिर आप पेरिस पैरालंपिक्स में आप 80 मीटर मार्क क्या आपके दिमाग में है या सिर्फ हमारे ही दिमाग में है?
80 मीटर का सवाल काफ़ी परेशान कर रहे हैं हम आजकल. मेरा लाइफ टाइम गोल है कि लाइफ में कभी ना कभी मैं 80 मीटर मार्क टच करूं, क्योंकि जब मैंने पैरा स्पोर्ट्स ज्वाइन किया था वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड 59 मीटर का था, अभी 73 मीटर का है। तो ऐसे ही जब मैं शुरू में बोलता था कि हाँ मैं एक दिन 70 मीटर मारूंगा, तो लोग हंसते थे कि हाँ यार पैरा में कब से 70 मीटर लगने लगी। तो अभी हो रहा है सबको कि हाँ जब मैं 80 बोल रहा हूँ तो पॉसिबल लग रहा है लोगों को। हमारा भी यही है कि जितनी जल्दी हो सके हम 80 मीटर को टच करें। कोशिश करेंगे कि एक छोटे छोटे टारगेट लेके रख रहे हैं अभी, जैसे अभी हमारी वर्ल्ड चैम्पियनशिप है, तो कोशिश करेंगे इसमें अपनी पिछली परफॉर्मेंस को थोड़ा और इंक्रीज़ करें। मे बी 75 मीटर के आसपास थ्रो लगाने की कोशिश करेंगे। वो दिन के ऊपर भी डिपेंड करता है कि आपकी बॉडी किस टाइप से चलती है। और पैरालंपिक्स में सबसे पहला गोल तो हमारा गोल्ड का ही है। उसके बाद कोशिश करेंगे कि बाई चांस हमारा कोबे वर्ल्ड चैम्पियनशिप में वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड हुआ तो उसको थोड़ा और मतलब अपना मेन एम यही रहता है कि मैम अपनी लिमिट्स को हर बार पुश करें, क्योंकि अभी काफ़ी लंबा सफ़र तय करना है और इंजरी प्रिवेंशन भी एक माइंड में रहती है हमारे में। तो मेन फोकस थोड़ा परफॉर्मेंस से आ जाएगी, बाद में भी आ जाएगी, बट इंजरी फ्री रहेंगे तो लंबे चलेंगे। माइंड में वही रहता है कि ऐसा ना हो कि 80 मीटर को टच करने के चक्कर में इंजर्ड हो जाएं। तो वही रहता है कि जैसा भी हो अच्छा हो।
Lovely, bhai. Deepti, I'm coming to you on the next one. So on the occasion of Women's Day, happy Women's Day to everyone, every woman present here. I want you to talk about the women's participation in para sports, because you work closely with the para athletes. So what is the ratio, what is the number of women's participation increase throughout the year you have seen?
Thank you for that question. I think women's sport globally itself, the participation is very, very low. And if you're in a country like India, when you talk about men and women, and then you talk about a woman with disability, I think there's a lot of other stigmas attached to that. And we've come across many athletes who have been, young girls who were locked up in rooms and not allowed to go out because of the disability, because who's going to take care of, who's going to be the caregiver of a young girl who also has disability? But I think the beauty of sport is sport has given each of these athletes an identity. I have a story about a girl who, I'm not going to mention her, but she had a job in a bank and she then picked up sport, and after that she was always looking forward to get married and have some sort of a partnership at that point of time. And then she's like, nobody's even talking about my marriages. Everyone is talking about my cousin's marriage and this one's marriage. Nobody is talking about my marriage. And then she goes on to win this medal, and she's like calling and then saying, ma'am, line lagi hai abhi shaadi ke liye, right? So I think for someone with different challenges, the needs and wants are very different, and sport plays a role in very different ways. One, it could just be a job, it could be security. The other could be reaching the highest level of human potential, like what Sumit is doing. The other could be the joy of sport. But mostly in parasport, they come in from a rehabilitation perspective. They come in from swimming, learning. Very few people have access to other para-athletes who've picked up the sport. And I think this generation has all these champion role models to look at and say, I also want to be that, which was not there probably even 10 years ago. So I think for young girls today, whether you look at a Sheetal Devi, whether you look at Ekta Bayan, you look at Avni, they all come from different stratas of the society, and each one of them are breaking barriers in their own way and inspiring the next generation of boys and girls all over. So I think it's changing, but a long way to go.
Well, Yogesh, you have an academy, और आपने ये एकेडमी खुद ही खेलते वक्त ही खोला है, जो कि थोड़ा रेयर तो है। और एशियन गेम्स में एक्चुअली आपके साथ आपके स्टूडेंट भी थे, तो एक तो वो कैसा फीलिंग होता है कि जब आपके एकेडमी से ही कोई आपके कंपटीटर है, और दूसरा ये आपको जनरली देखने को मिलता है कि स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन्स रिटायरमेंट के बाद वो सेकेंड इनिंग सोचा जाता है एकेडमीज एंड ऑल, बट आप खेलते हुए ही आपने ये डिसीजन क्यों लिया कि एकेडमी खोलना है?
हेलो। सबसे पहले तो मैं एकेडमी का जो विज़न है वो थोड़ा डिफरेंट है। एज अ कॉम्पिटिटर नहीं थे, स्टूडेंट भी नहीं थे। मतलब मेरा एक ये था कि अगर मैंने पैरा स्पोर्ट्स अगर कुछ कमाया और मैं यहाँ तक पहुँचा हूँ तो मैं वही चीज़ जो मैंने फेस करी है डिफ़िकल्टीज़, वो आने वाले जो यंग जनरेशन है वो फेस ना करे। तो एक टाइम की बात थी, 2-3 एथलीट्स थे, काफ़ी टाइम से वो ट्रेनिंग कर रहे थे, लेकिन वो गेम बीच में छोड़ने वाले थे। तो उनका कॉल आता है कि ऐसे ऐसे बहुत ज़्यादा फाइनेंशियल दिक्कत हो रही है मुझे। तो मैंने बोला ठीक है, तू ऐसा कर, यहाँ पर ट्रेनिंग कर, तेरे को जो भी चीज़ की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी वो मिलेगी। तो मैं अपनी पॉकेट से उसको सारी चीज़ का स्पॉन्सरशिप वगैरह एवरीथिंग करता था। मेरी एकेडमी में मल्टीपल इक्विपमेंट्स थे, हर चीज़ थी, मैंने सारी चीज़ वहाँ पर लेके आया। कुछ स्पॉन्सरशिप से लेके आया था, कुछ मैं अपने पॉकेट से लेके आया था। तो वो मेरा विज़न था कि मैं जो चीज़ें डिफ़िकल्टीज़ मैंने फेस करी है वो उन डिफ़िकल्टीज़ को फेस करके वो छोड़ के ना जाए। क्योंकि पैरा स्पोर्ट्स में ऐसा होता है कि वो मेंटली प्रिपेयर्ड नहीं होते। काफ़ी सारे जो बच्चे होते हैं वो आते हैं, उनको दिखता है कि रिज़ल्ट नहीं मिला, वो छोड़ देते हैं। वो एबल बॉडी में भी है और पैरा स्पोर्ट्स में भी है। हर बंदे को जो सक्सेस है वो शॉर्टकट में चाहिए, लेकिन स्पोर्ट्स एक ऐसी चीज़ है, ये तपस्या है। आप इसको जितना हार्ड वर्क करोगे उतना ही ये आगे आपको फल देगा। जैसे बोलते हैं सब्र का फल मीठा होता है, तो यही है कि आप सब्र करते हैं और फल मीठा होता है। और मेरा, जैसे आपने बोला था ये रिटायरमेंट का है, तो अभी तो इतनी जल्दी रिटायरमेंट लेना भी नहीं है, और जब तक रिटायरमेंट होंगे तब तक तो बहुत नाम हो जाएगा उसका तो इसको छोड़ना ही नहीं है अभी तो। ये जितना ज़्यादा मेरे को वो होएगा कि मैं किसी को अगर मैं अपने से स्पॉन्सर करके अगर वो आगे बढ़ रहा है तो मुझे खुशी है। आज भी अगर वो 10 लोगों में बैठता नाम लेता तो मुझे खुशी है कि हाँ मेरा 10 लोगों में नाम ले रहा है। तो मुझे इस चीज़ से मेरे को प्राउड फील होता है। उसका ऐसा कोई इंटरव्यू नहीं होगा कि उसने उसने नाम नहीं लिया हो। तो वही मेरे लिए भगवान की देन है और मेरे लिए वही मेडल है।
Lovely words from you, Yogesh bhai. Final few minutes in this conversation. Sumili ji, I'm coming to you, and I am graduate, a long experience in marketing. So how do you look into para sports as a marketing prospect?
Sports itself is a huge opportunity for any brand to talk through sports, because when you talk through sports, there are, like you just said, the story. There are so many stories that you can talk through, right? You're not really marketing, but you're marketing through through a community that gathers attention of people, but that is also building the potential of the country. So sports as an opportunity itself is huge. And when you actually talk about para sports, there are so many stories which are so strong, which are hugely inspiring. Again, I just wish that brands talk more about the journey behind the success rather than just the success, because I think the opportunity that you have right now is, we should not just celebrate a moment, an athlete and a win, but what makes that moment and what makes that athlete. And I think that is where the larger opportunity stands, and if more brands can join that, both for able-bodied and para sports, I think that will really take us like the next level. So.
Thank you so much, all of you, my esteemed panelists. Rohan and I, of course, had a fantastic session. India as a sporting nation can only, India, the sporting nation dream can only be fulfilled if we believe in para sports and able-bodied sports equally. And thanks to everyone in the panel and Rohan. Thank you so much, guys. You have been a fantastic audience.
No. You know, and can we sort of not crowd this part, because she's also got to see, and I've said this over 2 days, every panel, every panelist we've got to respect. Sania and Nikhat both need to see the last couple of minutes, and then we'll start the next panel. So let her be for a few minutes. We'll do the photographs, and we've done all of that. Absolute honor to have this panel on stage. I mean, I've been a Sumit Until fan. Tokyo, what happened was, it was what, 2:45 India time, and Deepa Malik, the president, then president, now Devendra is taking over. She calls me from Tokyo and says, world record. And I'm like, yeah, मैं देख रहा हूँ. 5 minutes later, world record. I said, abhi to hua. She said, no, dobara tod diya hai. I said, dobara tod diya? Another 15 minutes later, world record. And then I interviewed Sumit until that night. And he said, sir, agar Neeraj Chopra 85 meters, 90 meters फेंक रहा है, तो मैं 75, 80 meters क्यों ना फेंकूं? Ladies and gentlemen, Sumit Until. Yogesh Kathunia, I mean, somebody who is giving it back to sport by creating an academy, teaching people for free. Come on. We talk about sports people giving back to sport. If that is not the example of giving back to sport, I don't know what is. Ladies and gentlemen, Yogesh Kathunia. Sumeli Chatterjee, I mean, few people, I'm crazy, right? I mean, all of us are in Rev Sports. So I called Sumeli and said, want to invest in parasport, want to support parasport, you will do it. And she said, what? I said, yeah, parasport. She said, but, you know, and then not a question asked. We launched the Palat Day campaign together, and I'm proud of her. She's my junior in Presidency College, has the vision to transform Indian sport. Sumeli Chatterjee. Gautam Devlekar, I didn't know Gautam. I know of Gautam from Prantik, my dear friend and colleague who's a co-founder of Rev Sports with me. And Gautam is actually training, helping young golfers to grow. I mean, that's what we need in India. That's what we need. And, you know, he lives in Singapore, making a difference to sport in that manner. And finally, I've called her my rock star friend, Deepti Bopaya. How many athletes has she influenced and changed their lives? Many, countless, and the journey continues. Deepti Bopaya, and to my two dear colleagues. Without Rohan and Trisha, this conclave is not there. So to everyone at Rev Sports, please, we've pulled it off, and the last 1.5 hours of celebration. Thank you very much to all of you. And we'll have the felicitation and the photo up. Can we have, who do I call? Because this is a very special panel and too many special guests. So where is Srinjoy Bose? Is Srinjoy Bose there? I just saw him. There you are. Please, can you come up on stage and do the felicitation? Every time I've looked for Srinjoy Bose, he's not there. Now I can see his wife there, so I'll call him. So now I know why he's there. Okay. Chalo. ठीक है, doesn't matter. Just दिए दो. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. पढ़े देखे नहीं आते. दिए दो. Oops. দাও. Srinjoy, একটা ছবি. Finally, তুমি ওই মাঝখানটা দাঁড়াও. The final photo up for this panel. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Gautam Devlekar, Sumeli Chatterjee, Deepti Bopaya, Sumit Until, Srinjoy Bose, Yogesh Kathunia, Rohan and Trisha. Thank you very, very much for being a wonderful audience. Thank you everyone. We need 3 chairs on stage. Excuse me, 3 chair please. Bakigulo shoriye din. We need 3 chairs on stage. We have one panel after this, that's at 4:15. We are going to do an empowerment walk and then the final panel. But now, the session panel, the celebratory panel, the panel that will define our Women's Day celebration, ladies and gentlemen, ladies study group, they're there. And I'm delighted to have them with us. Packed audience, 2 people who've redefined our sport. Champ is what I call her. 2003, since when I've covered her. Her junior Wimbledon title, her father is a dear friend of mine, her mother is a dear friend of mine, and the Sania phenomenon is what redefined the contours of Indian sport. One of the greatest India has produced, and during motherhood, she transformed our understanding of what someone can do. Please welcome, put your hands together for the one and only Sania Mirza. And she's waited for a long, long time. And when that wait ended, she ended it with a world championship title. And then she followed it up with another world championship title on home soil. And then was a Commonwealth Games gold. Then an Asian Games medal. That one medal still remains, and she's in pursuit. If there is one athlete India would bank on, come the Paris 2024 Games, put your hands together for the one and only Nikhat Zareen. হ্যালো, ইয়া, আপনারা এই মাঝখানটা একটু ছেড়ে দেবেন যাতে পেছন লোকজন দেখতে পায়। থ্যাংক ইউ। হাউ ডিড সানিয়া মির্জা হ্যাপেন?
We have to ask my parents, don't we? No.
And you.
No, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Then I'll get into the answer. It's a pleasure always being here, and it's a pleasure being here for Boria, who's a very dear friend, like he said. I'm always in awe of how he can speak so many words all together without saying or even for a second. So, yeah, thanks for having me here. Sania Mirza happened... she didn't happen overnight. She happened over a period of many, many years, many, many hours. And honestly, there was never really a moment where we just sat and said, okay, from today we're going to become a professional tennis player. It was a journey that we were on as a family, and against a lot of odds, obviously against us at that point, where there was absolutely zero belief in the fact that Sania Mirza or a Sania Mirza could happen at that point. And that's how we sort of took pride in every small achievement that happened, whether that was an under-10 state title, or whether that was a club match, or whether that was an under-14 state win. And and then over time, we just sort of realized that maybe she's actually good at what she's doing. And and then we kind of took it more seriously when I was about 12 or 13.
Nikhat, similar story. I mean, very similar backgrounds and same city. Can you tell my audience, and this is about storytelling, when you first took to boxing and your mother, that whole story about your mother, and now she sort of screams mar mar at every time you fight, but that same story, Nikhat Zareen becoming a boxer when your father took you to that little training academy in Hyderabad. Nikhat Zareen.
Firstly, good afternoon to everyone, and I would like to wish happy birthday to Boria sir. Today's birthday. And so basically I started boxing in 2009. I come from a small district called Nizamabad. So there, I was into athletics, and as there were no proper stadiums and tracks, so I used to go along with my dad, and my dad used to help me see my timings and all that. And there I have seen girls in every sport except boxing. तो मैंने casually I asked my father, पापा boxing बस लड़के ही कर सकते हैं क्या, लड़कियाँ नहीं? Then my father replied, नहीं बेटा, boxing लड़कियाँ भी कर सकती है, but हमारी society में लोगों को लगता है कि लड़कियों में इतना दम नहीं है ऐसे sport take up करने. तो then I said, अरे पापा, फिर मैं करके दिखाऊंगा, and I'll prove everyone wrong that no girls can also do boxing. And I'm the first girl to start boxing in Nizamabad district. And I remember I had my first sparring session with a guy, तो उसने मुझे बहुत मारा था, तो मेरी नाक में से खून निकलने लग गया था, and my eye got lot of bruises, और मैं ऐसे ही घर चले गई. And when my mom saw me in that situation, she started crying, and she told me, बेटा मैंने boxing में तुझे इसीलिए नहीं डाला कि तेरा चेहरा खराब हो जाए, अगर तुझे कुछ हो जाएगा तो तेरे से शादी कौन करेगा. Then I said, अरे अम्मी आप टेंशन काहे को ले रहे, नाम होगा तो दूल्हों की लाइन लग जाएगी. And अभी if I get any bruises or any hurt, वो बस बोलते हैं कि कोई बात नहीं बेटा, आइस लगा लो ठीक हो जाएगा. So मतलब it feels nice to see कि मेरी मम्मी की सोच कहाँ से कहाँ बदली है. So that's my story. कि स्टार्टिंग में लोग बोलते थे कि लड़की है, शॉर्ट वॉट पहनना अलाउ नहीं है हमारी कम्युनिटी में, बट माई फादर ऑलवेज स्टूड बिसाइड मी, एंड ही ऑलवेज फॉट विथ अदर्स, एंड आज जो भी हूँ जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ माई पेरेंट्स.
Sania, there are many mothers in this audience, many mothers. I mean, again, you've defied every time society has asked you a question, trolls have asked you a question, you've given it back. I mean, 26 kilos you shed after motherhood, and we all followed you. Each one felt inspired, man, woman. Can you tell us that story? I mean, to come back after motherhood, and then Izhan there in Australian Open, coming to the stadium, making a Grand Slam final in your last Grand Slam. Sania Mirza.
I think that for me, one of my motivations, I won't say the only motivation, but a very big part of my comeback after, I was so big when I got pregnant. I was like breathing and putting on weight. I don't know how many people can actually relate to this over here who are mothers, but like literally I was like, my God, I put on 24 kilos or 23 kilos or something. And I'm sitting there 20 kilos overweight, and I think Boria had also met me at that point when I was quite overweight, and I said, yeah, I'm going to make a comeback. And I think everybody thought I was a fool. They were like, seriously? And I'm sitting there 20 kilos overweight, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make a comeback, and I'm going to play at the best, the biggest stage again. And one of the reasons for that was obviously my personal interest in doing it, but also the fact that I think we come from a large majority of society where they believe that once you become a mother, your life almost ends, and it's all about the child. Like everything is about the child. Everything is about not giving that self-love to yourself. And I think that it's very important to realize that becoming a mother is a brand new life. It's not the end of a life. And I think that if I inspired even one mother, a young mother, to do what she loved after she had a kid, if I inspired one mother to love herself for that 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day and do something for herself, because all the mothers here will understand that our priority becomes kids, and we almost forget ourselves in the process, especially in the initial years of being a mom. So I think that for me, making that comeback was to try to inspire as many women as possible to try and believe in themselves and actually live for themselves as well, as long as they are doing the other duties too. And also, when somebody tells me I can't do something, then I have to do it. So, I was told many times that, "Arey, tujhse to nahi hoga, bhai. Tu kahan se 20 kilo lose karke?" I was like, well, 4 months later, I had lost 26 kilos. So that is just who I am as a person, I guess. And so all those things were something that really inspired me to come back and to try and set at least some kind of example.
Nikhat, that's why sort of the two of you are role models. Like, I mean, every time I've seen Champ, I felt inspired. Every time I've seen you, and I've told you guys this, I mean, it sort of allows us this self-belief. In India, we don't have champions. And now the ultimate prize for you, I mean, we will all put pressure on you. We will put pressure come 4 months, trust me. Because World Championship, each time I said to you, Nikhat, World Champion, no, this is not the end goal. The end goal is 24 Paris. What is it like? I mean, you're living that dream, but when the media starts putting pressure, you're there, you know the country will expect. Tell me.
Obviously, as I said in every interview, that my ultimate dream is winning an Olympic medal for my country. And definitely, I'll gonna give my 100%, more than 100%. And I know there will be a lot of pressure on me for this Paris Olympics, but I'll take that in a positive way, and I'll keep my focus only on boxing and give everything. So, and also I told you before at Asian Games that before Olympics, I'm gonna leave all my, I'll be logged out from all my social media accounts so that I can only focus on boxing and win medal for my country.
But I used to do that also, actually. I used to log out of all my social media for any of the big games because, as we know, we become a very sport-obsessed country 2 months before the Olympics, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my God, we have to come back with 25 medals, and then 2 months later forget about it again. So, but I used to just log out, and that's the best way to do it, trust me.
Sania, how did you deal with social media? Because 20 years earlier, this was not there. I mean, the whole social media issue about trolls, you're not, controversies have happened with you, with all of us, and each time again you've inspired. When you were body shamed, when the 26 kilos, the 23 kilos, you were body shamed each time during motherhood. How did you deal with that? Where did you get that inner resilience from?
I dealt with it with a lot of humor, to be very honest. For me, social media is just a small part of my life because I understand that, we live in a day and age where we can't do without social media because that's the sort of need of the hour. But honestly, I don't take social media very seriously. For me, it is not something that, I'll read a bad comment, I'm like, oh my God, it has broken my day. That never happens to me. Yeah, I mean, as a human being, you do feel bad maybe for a moment or something, and then you feel bad for that person because you just feel like, my God, he must be such a loser. He's sitting on hating on a person that he doesn't even know. So you honestly have to take social media with a pinch of salt and or a fist of salt sometimes. And for me, I've also grown up in an era where there were there was no social media. Yes, Nikhat, there used to be an era like that where we didn't have to deal with everyday question marks about who we are, what we do, what we wear, how we look, how we eat. And nobody really knew what we were doing. There were no Instagram stories, there was nothing, right? We had lived an anonymous sort of life, at least our private life. And so for me, I know the way it feels to live without it, and I know the way it feels to live with it, and we have to move ahead with time. So you get on social media, but trust me, I don't think social media should make or break anybody's day, because it really doesn't deserve that much acknowledgement.
Does it impact you, Nikhat, at all? I mean, the social media
Not
thing?
at all, not at all. Because, I mean, of course, I love to post photos and reels on Instagram. I am only active on Instagram. Other apps, my team is managed by my team. So I don't care what people talk about me on social media until and unless, my own family member is criticizing me. But then, yeah, I don't give much importance to social media.
How do you deal with failure, Nikhat? For example, Asian Games, each one of us say, I mean, a medal is huge, but from Nikhat Zareen, it's only gold now, because you've set the bar there. So when you get a bronze, it's like Sachin Tendulkar's 100th. He got 76 not out against the West Indies, and the headline was, Sachin falls 24 short. Now that's stupid. But getting a medal at the Asian Games and then to say, oh, she did not get the gold. How do you deal with such kind of unreal expectations?
I mean, I'm happy that people expect gold from me, not lesser than that. Even I do expect only gold. But unfortunately, it was a split decision in the Asian Games. Even nobody wants to lose in any match. Everyone goes with a winning mindset. So even I did that, but unfortunately, it wasn't my day, and I lost in a semi-final. But at least my aim was to qualify for Paris Olympic, which I did, and I'm happy. But I will definitely try my best to give my performance in Paris and change my color into gold and bring that gold medal to my country.
Fantastic. Sania, yes, it's one thing to be a great, but then another thing to be world #1. 44 matches, multiple weeks, a whole year, not losing. Tell me about that streak with Martina. And you all were unbeatable. And to scale one peak after another, Sania.
Yeah, I think that as an athlete, and I think no matter what sport you play, I think that at some point you would love to feel invincible. And very few get to taste that. Very few get to taste the feeling of like when you walk on the court, you feel like, you know what, I think that I'm probably going to win this match. And, you know, when we went on that 44, was it 44? I mean, I don't even know, 43, 44, we went on this match-winning streak. We didn't lose for 6 months. And, you know, every time we stepped on the court, it was very hard in a way because you had to find the balance between almost being cocky and being confident. Yet when you were walking on the court, you felt like, we're probably going to win this match. And because Martina and I were that good under pressure, I feel that we both felt very confident when the chips were down, especially. So that is a feeling that every athlete wants to be like in the zone. I think, you know, Nikhat will know what I mean. Like when you say, I'm in the zone, like it's almost like you see nothing else except the tennis court and the ball for me. And you see nothing else. You feel like everything is working your way. And you're lucky if it happens for a day. You're very lucky if it happens for a week. In my case, we were very, very fortunate. It happened for 6 months where we were in the zone. And it was an amazing feeling. It was an unbelievable feeling to be able to call yourselves the best in the world by far, you know. And that is something that only what dreams are made of. Like as a child, you fill slam books in your school and say, I want to be #1 in the world one day to your friends. And that actually happens to you. So when that does happen, it's almost surreal.
Absolutely, and I remember that chit that your father had once shared, right? That chit where you had written this about being world #1. Nikhat, Sania, both. Question for you both. Yes, you all have won every possible championship, Grand Slam, medals, and world championships. But for both, and I ask this question because if you see large number of mothers, women as part of this audience here, for me, the real legacy of Sania Mirza and Nikhat Zareen is to be able to make change. Seeing Sania, if 1 million people out there decide to take up the sport, seeing Nikhat Zareen, another million decide to take up the sport, That's where real change is. Is that what sort of is the real legacy? Because medals, fine, yes, medals, but societal change, impact, one woman believing, one kid believing, one person with disability believing. Nikhat. She says, "Aap bolo, dono bolo, aap pehle bolo."
No, I think that we both come from, like you said, similar backgrounds. We come from the same community. Obviously, that is very obvious. But I think in general, we came from normal Muslim households, you know, conservative families who never had a young girl say, I want to be #1 in the world at what I do, or a world champion, or whatever it may be. And I think that when we did that, I don't think, at least I didn't, imagine the impact that it will make to the country or to the world or to young women. I think that it was a byproduct of who we are. I think the legacy, yes, after you become an ambassador towards, you know, whether it's your game or as a human being, I feel like you have a sense of responsibility. So yes, does the legacy lie just in us winning medals and Grand Slams and World Championships? I don't think so. I think that we are here as representatives of many, in many ways, as women, representatives of trying to be at least good role models for the next generation of young girls, young kids who want to pick up the sport that we play. And also I feel that we in some way were able to make people believe from our country, and young girls believe from our community as well, that you know, you can do things that are outside of the box, and it's okay, because we had parents, we were very lucky to have parents who supported us doing that.
Nikhat, when the tricolor goes up, you guys have made it happen for all of us. I mean, we see, we get emotional, but when you make it happen, World Championship, top of the podium, the Tiranga going up, the national anthem goes. Tell me.
Obviously, every Indian will agree with me that whenever we see the national flag is going up and the national anthem has been played in the other country and everyone is standing and giving respect to our national anthem, of course, I'll get goosebumps and I get emotional. I remember when I was playing my first World Championship in 2011, and I was standing on the podium. I don't know, I started crying. Even I was not... I mean, I didn't realize कि मैं रो क्यों रही हूँ. I remember जब हमारे स्कूल में national anthem play होता है every assembly, every morning. So कभी इतना seriously लिया नहीं उस चीज़ को कभी. But when I was standing on the podium, there was something else. I mean, I don't know. उस time I was literally crying. So that day I realized what is the like what it takes to represent your country and making proud. So that day I promised that whenever I get this opportunity, I'll try to stand top of the podium and make sure that वहाँ पे national anthem play हो.
Sania, again, I mean, I ask you because you're a strong person, because all of us have faced failure. Each one of us have failed in our lives in something different. We've not been happy with it. How does Sania Mirza deal with failure?
I think that failure is something that you have to know that will happen at some point, whether it happens in a big way or a small way. The only difference is when we fail in front of the entire world, and then the entire world has an opinion about it, and that's why it makes it maybe slightly harder to deal with those failures. I think honestly, it's the love and it's the belief in yourself, and that keeps you going. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you inspired to believe that, to remember why you started. It keeps you inspired to really understand what your end goal is. Now, everybody might have different end goals, and you just have to sort of brush it off. I mean, I think sport really teaches you that, and I think that is why there is no better teacher than sport. Sport teaches you how to be humble in victory. It teaches you how to be resilient in defeat. It teaches you that there can be another day, even if you have the worst day of your life on the tennis court. You can come back the next day and you can still try again. So I think that is what sport teaches you. Those are the life lessons you learn from sport that no other school or book can ever teach you. And that's how you deal with failure. You always have to know that you can wake up the next morning and try and be better than the day before.
Nikhat, my final two questions. and again, this is something that I think is a common trait for the two of you. One, you've achieved a lot. Sania's achieved a lot. I mean, if you take the top 10 ever, perhaps both of you will be there. And yet, both of you have stayed humble, have stayed rooted. The same values that I've seen in Sania 20 years back, I see in Sania today. The same values that I've seen in you when you did not win your world championship and you were struggling, I see in you today. You've stayed humble. Success hasn't changed Nikhat Zareen, the person. Tell me.
Not at all. I think it's just the beginning and I can't just change myself so early. And I think
Or at all.
or at all, obviously, because I don't forget my roots. I know where I come from. And obviously, अगर मैं अगर थोड़ा extra over smart बनने की कोशिश भी करूँगी तो मेरे घर वाले मुझे नीचे बुला लेंगे, वापस बोले 2 डंडे मारेंगे, बेटा आ जाओ. So, I mean, I come from a humble and middle class family, so I've never seen this kind of things, you know, which changes people. So obviously, मैं कितनी भी मेरे life में success and all that comes, but मैं अपने आप को कभी change नहीं करूँगी.
Same question. How did you stay humble? I mean, you've won everything, and you've got everything.
I know, but who cares, right? In life, it's not about that. It's not about, it's about what kind of a person you are. At the end of the day, today after I've retired, yeah, we can talk about how much I've won and what I've achieved, but that doesn't, if I'm, sorry to say, a shitty person, I don't think that's going to count for much. So I think that it's very important to really remember where you come from. It's very important to remember why you have achieved what you have achieved, why you are getting the respect, because it is from the game, it is from your hard work. And I think that a family, and I agree with Nithik, your family plays a very important role in, you know, finding that grounding. And you know, you have those few very close people to you who really make you realize that, you know, you could be Sania Mirza outside this house, but when you come home, you're still going to be Sania. And I think that's very important to have, because that's where you really need to know where your roots lie. And for me, it's much more important to be a better human being than to win any Grand Slam. That's just who I am. So
Spot on. Spot on. Final question. Final question. Sania, tell me an Izhan story. How is it, Sania as a mother? Of course, we don't get to see Sania and Izhan. What is that little story or that little moment that you share with him that you can publicly possibly disclose?
I mean, right now he's 5 going on 15. So it's like everything is a question, and everything is a why, and everything is a why not.
Your son?
Yeah, he's
Don't
my
be
son.
surprised.
He's my son. He's got sarcasm like me as well. I didn't know a 5-year-old understood what sarcasm meant until I had him. No, it's amazing. I mean, I think that you know, becoming a mother really did, like every other parent, it really made me, I won't say a better person. I think it made me evolve as a human being. I think that, and we've discussed this when we've not been on stage in person as well, where I really do feel that as athletes, we're very selfish people, okay? Unfortunately, that's the truth, because that's the nature of our job. Our job is to worry about ourselves. Our job is to say, oh, this is what I want to eat. This is what I want to do. This is what time I want to wake up. And then everybody else in the team just kind of goes along. I want to eat pasta today. I don't want to eat this. I want gluten-free. Please I want warm up this time. I don't want to play this time. And then all of a sudden you have this child, and I was lying there in the hospital after this C-section I had, and nobody asked about me. They're like, where's the baby? Where's the baby? Where's the baby? I was like, wow, this is a good reality check that has happened in our lives. And everything was like, oh, how much does the baby poop? How much does the baby drink milk? Everything was, I'm like, really? I mean, I just gave birth, but you can ask me about myself as well. But I think in general, as a mother, you don't feel anything. You actually feel that I didn't know I had the capacity to love someone so much and want more than I want for myself. And I think that only a parent will tell you. That feeling is so incredible. And that's why you evolve as a human being.
Fantastic, fantastic. Nikhat, final question for you. You know, every time we've spoken and you've told me this, I waited for a long time to be where I am. All of us know the struggles that you've been through, and you said, sir, every competition that I fight, I will ensure that I live every moment of it. And you are. Tell me, I mean, the weight, the resilience, and now you are Nikhat Zareen world champion.
Honestly, my life is just like a roller coaster because when I was in junior and youth, everything was so good. And then when I turned senior, it was so tough for me to get an opportunity. And after a long, long wait, in 2022, I got the opportunity to represent India. And then I won World Championship gold, where everything has changed. Within 6 months, my life has been changed. You know, meeting my favorite actor, going on KBC, going on Kapil Sharma show, everything, people started recognizing me as Nikhat Zareen. So of course, I really enjoyed all that stardom, but at the end, I know that my ultimate dream is to be fulfilled, and I need to keep my focus there. So yeah, I think all that wait was worth it. Now I'm enjoying that, and I'll give my best for all my all Olympics, and I hope I'll make country proud at Olympics too. Thank you.
Fantastic. Let me finish this session, and then I'll get 4 women who made a difference to this conclave on stage to do the felicitation and the photo op. I called Sania October last year, and I said, I'm doing the conclave in March, and she said, you're mad. 6 months earlier, true, right? 6 months earlier, you're telling me March 7th, 8th. I mean, what do you want? It's not possible to tell you anything. So I said, champ, I'll call you in November, I'll call you in December, I'll call you in Jan, you've got to come. So I called, and I did. And I did.
Every month you called.
I did. I'm persistent. November I called, same answer. December, same answer. January, same answer. February, same answer. So I went ahead, finalized the plan. 1 week back, she was in Calcutta, and I get a missed call from Sania Mirza, which I did not, because I was involved in some conclave work. I call her back next morning at 7, and she was on her way to the airport, and I said, oh Lord, I missed you, you were in Kolkata. And she says, yeah, that's why I was calling you, we could have met. And I said, champ, come to my conclave. And then my next statement was, champ, I can't pay you, I don't have the money. And she says, what? I said, yeah. So she says, wait. Truth.
I didn't say what, first of all. I said, I expected that. No, I'm kidding.
And by the way, truth. And then, I mean, I was sort of digesting it. I was like, okay. And then I said, champ, listen, you've got to come and do this conclave. It means the world to me. I won't be able to pay you. And I said the same thing to Nikhat Zareen, putting it on record. They're doing this conclave pro bono. Both of them are doing this conclave pro bono. There are some relationships that one stands up for. This friendship, which has been for 20 years with Sania Mirza and the family. Imran is a closer friend to me than anyone. Nasima is very, very close to me. Anam, I've been to her wedding. The Mirza family, very, very close, and they are absolute champions, ladies and gentlemen. Nikhat Zareen, in Paris, in Birmingham, whichever part of the world she plays, we will be there supporting her and doing everything possible to be on her corner, good or bad, win or lose. Put your hands together for Sania Mirza and Nikhat Zareen. And now let's call 5 women who made this conclave. First, to my co-founder and better half, Shormishta Gupta, who tolerates me every single day. You know, this conclave has been something that both of us have lived together and made it happen. Shormishta, another person, Srinjoy's wife, Nilanjana, very close friend of ours. Nilanjana, can I have you on stage, please, to do the felicitation? Please come. Dr. Palshetkar, please come. Mr. and Mrs. Palshetkar on stage. And finally, I can't miss you, Pritha. You've helped me with the artwork. You've helped me with everything on stage. Come on. Let's have a celebration with 2 of the best India has ever produced, ladies and gentlemen, Sania Mirza and Nikhat Zareen. There you go. After this, we take a 10-minute break, then we convene here for what we call the Empowerment Walk, which is supported by Mintra, and all of us will walk. We are not models, we have professional models as well, but we will all walk for a cause, for Paralympic sport, for women's sport, for empowerment. And Anju Bobby George will lead that. And thereafter, all our athletes coming together on stage for the final session of Trailblazers 2.0 as we celebrate men and women who've done incredible things to India. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the story. For the moment, final round of applause for Sania Mirza and Nikhat Zareen. Yes, come. Sanya, one photo. One photo. I'll go there and do the